All right, so the Reds lose last night 4-2. It's tough, right? I mean, you go into the game and you're like, wow, we're here. We're in the spot. There's 6 games left, and the season ended today. The Cincinnati Reds would be in the playoffs. And it's kind of hard to believe, right? Because have they played good baseball at parts this year? Yes. But have they played losing baseball at parts this year? Yes, absolutely. You can make the argument that, they shouldn't even be in this spot because if the New York Mets just hadn't absolutely been selling of recent, they wouldn't even find themselves when they're in a position here to even have a chance. That's all fine. But the reality is they went into last night and had a chance. There was the whole mantra of pack GABP, right? You had guys on social media posting it, tweeting it out. You had, everybody in the community seemingly getting fired up about it. Then you see kind of 6:40 first pitch, right? And it didn't really feel like anybody was there. Now, 6:40 is always a unique time. When I was a kid, I would have loved the 6:40 because the 7:10 start, I had a bedtime, right? So I would only see, limited baseball before I had to go to bed as a kid. And that was one of the things growing up. I've loved sports, obviously, my whole life. Had a bedtime. That's something that always frustrated me. Even looking back to this day, looking back now, back in the day, that would always just kind of was like, ugh. Like I remember just being so ticked off having to go to bed when, the Reds were on, or Sunday Night Football, or like college football national championship. Those games were all on really late. So just being an older person, not having to deal with that anymore certainly is a lot of fun. So back in the day, I would have loved a 6:40 start because I would have been able to see more baseball. But, at this point, I would love just a 7:10 start, right? That's what they always used to do. I'm sure there's reasons as to why, they're switching it to 6:40, whatever. But you can get more people in the ballpark. You can get more butts in seats if you start at 7:10, right? People have jobs, the traffic downtown, it gets congested. It's tough to get in there at 6:40. So I think it would have looked better at first pitch if it had been 7:10, obviously. And but credit to the fans. They did show up. It filled out. Was it sold out? No. But there was a lot of people there for that game cheering on the Cincinnati Redlegs. So, I think it was a big thing about, the crowd, what kind of crowd are we going to get? Hunter Greene, obviously, want more people to show up to the game. I get that. And, I thought for the most part, the city responded to the best of their ability, and they showed up. Unfortunately, the Reds could not deliver for them. Brady Singer has been tremendous. I was talking with a buddy last time in the trade for India. I was a big Jonathan India guy. Still am. Will continue to root for him. He was probably my favorite player on the team when he was here. But you flat out won that trade, right? I mean, you won that trade, and candidly, not close, right? Because Brady Singer has been great for you this year as somebody that's kind of been in the the middle of your rotation, right? Was he perfect last night? No. Did he put you in a spot where you could still win? Yes. I mean, he gave up 4 runs in the ball game last night, all in 1 inning. Obviously, that's kind of a difficult thing to swallow against a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? Where you were kind of hoping that he could go out there and only give up a couple of runs in the game, right? I think obviously that would have been beneficial if he gets into the game and he only gives up a couple of runs in that game. But obviously, he goes in, he gives up 4 in 1 inning. You had the 2-run bomb from O'Neal Cruz, and then you had a couple of, borderline no-name guys that come in clutch in that game and drive in some runs for the Pittsburgh Pirates. But he was able to do a nice job of settling in and still battled after that inning and gave you an opportunity where you could potentially have success in the game and score some runs in the ball game. Obviously, that did not end up happening, but Elly De La Cruz did show up in a really, really big way. And I want to give a lot of love to Elly De La Cruz because he's the only reason you even had a chance in this baseball game last night. Elly obviously has gotten a lot of flack for some of the things that have transpired this year. I think the expectations for Elly were probably unfair to him, but he probably definitely underperformed so far this year to this point. But he was borderline perfect in the game last night. I would even go as far as to say he was perfect in the game last night. He had the 2-run bomb, right? We obviously haven't seen Elly put the ball over the fence in a while. He did have one a few games ago, but beyond that, we haven't seen him crank one like that in quite some time. And that ball was absolutely hammer. That was just kind of a OG Elly De La Cruz type of home run, no doubter. And that really felt like it gave you an opportunity to have a chance to get back in the ball game, right? You were down 4-0 at that point. You had these people that show up. You're trying to get, fired up about potential postseason baseball here in Cincinnati. Brady Singer gives up the 4 spot, and you're like, oh, no, I don't know if we can score 4 runs. And then, boom, Elly De La Cruz smacks one over the fence. Absolutely launched. So it feels like he had an opportunity in the game. He was 3 for 3 in the game besides that, right? He was finding ways to get on base. He spun around from the right-handed side. he was able to get on base there as well. Even late in the ball game, draws the walk. Yeah, they wanted nothing to do with him in that spot, and it was 4 consecutive balls. Still a really good AB from Elly De La Cruz. And obviously the big knock on him has been the defense. Leads in Major League Baseball in errors. The 2 plays he made last night at that shortstop position were otherworldly type plays, to be completely honest with you. The back pick deep in the hole, fires a strike over to first base. Outstanding play. Charging in on a ball that's just kind of getting past the pitcher's mound, bare hand, sling it over to first base. Tremendous play. Elly De La Cruz was fantastic in this ball game, and really the reason that you even had a thought about potentially sticking around in this game if you're the Cincinnati Reds. Now, besides that, who showed up in the game? Nobody, right? Spencer Steer, he's been in a spot. Obviously, he's carried this team offensively of late. I love Spencer Steer. I've been very vocal. Spencer Steer right now is my favorite player on this team. Loved watching Spencer Steer play ball. Had 2 walks in the game. Competitive at bats. I thought he was really one of the only guys that looked comfortable in there in that spot. 2 big walks, but obviously wasn't able to do anything offensively beyond that. You had some 2-out hits. TJ Friedel late. That was nice, but you weren't able to come in clutch with guys on base, and that kind of has been a theme, unfortunately, for you throughout the entirety of the year to this point. And now you're in a spot where you start to question Tito Francona. Right? When the team loses, you're in a spot where everybody's watching. You're in the race for the playoffs. Had a postseason spot yesterday. Obviously, today you do not have one. You got to critique the manager, right? With his lineup and his decision on Hunter Greene. I stood here on yesterday's show, and I was very clear. I thought it was the right move to keep Greene in place. Well, now you lose that game. And if you're in a spot where 162 is do or die, and you have Singer out on the mound in Milwaukee, and he loses that game, everybody's going to come after Tito. That's just the reality of the situation. I was fine with the decision. I supported the decision yesterday. I'm still going to support it, but do I feel as good about it today? No, obviously, absolutely not. Because, the only reason that I thought the Reds could potentially lose that game was just because, it's the Reds. This just seems like a game they will lose. But on paper, who they had pitching, the momentum, the crowd, the positive energy, I thought they were going to win the game. But they revert back to old ways. The offense goes stagnant on them, and they ultimately lose the baseball game. So that's one thing people can pick apart about Tito Francona. The other thing will be the lineup, and that's going to get a lot of conversation here as, starting yesterday and through the course of these next 5 games, people are going to constantly be picking apart the lineup that Tito Francona puts out onto the field. Now, in Tito's defense, there isn't a clear-cut way to win, right? It's not like you got a bunch of stars that you can put at the top and the middle of your order and you can go out there and win baseball games, right? This isn't a Dave Roberts Dodgers lineup where it's like, oh, yeah, we know this guy's going to bat here and this guy, and we're just kind of, working out who's going to bat at the bottom. He doesn't really have that, all right? I mean, shoot, Elly De La Cruz is the most talented player on this team, and you don't even know where to put him in the lineup because you had him up for the whole year. You could argue that Tito had him up there for too long. Now you have him down a little bit, but he's producing. Then you're like, well, do you have to bring him back up, or should we keep him here because he's been doing well here? So there's lots of decisions there to make. The big one for me is Gavin Lux hitting third. Right? I think the guy that hits third has to have an ability to have extra base hits and or put the ball over the fence. Gavin Lux is a really solid baseball player. Batting .266 this year. Great move this offseason by the Cincinnati Reds to bring in Gavin Lux. Championship type of player. Obviously was with the Dodgers before here. He's played in massive games. He's played in postseason games. He's been a part of a lot of winning. He's been in the big moments, and he's delivered in the big moments. I have no issues with Gavin Lux being in this lineup. He should be in this lineup. At the 3 spot? No. He can't be at the 3 spot in this lineup. I was joking on off the bench. The ball he hit last night, yeah, he just barely got under it. It had, 100-mile-per-hour exit velo. He hit it well, just barely got under it. I hear you. All right. Could he have hit it over the fence? Sure. But, that ball was hit pretty hard for Gavin Lux and didn't get over the fence. Understand he got a little bit under it. But come on, that's your 3-hitter. And I get Tito feels comfortable, as Trace alluded to earlier. He feels comfortable with him in the lineup. Shoot, I feel comfortable with him in the lineup as well. I want him in the lineup. But unfortunately, you can't put him at that 3 spot, especially when he goes 0 for in the game and you're making a change to put in a new guy later in the game, and you bring Andujar in for him. Lux, fine being in the lineup. Got to get out of the 3-hole. Who do you put there? I don't have a great answer for you. There's not a ton of options, right? Andujar is a guy that I've been really high on. I think he's won you some games. I think Andujar, if you didn't make the move to get Andujar, you wouldn't be in this spot. Andujar has been very, very valuable. He's the best hitter in Major League Baseball as far as average against left-handed pitching. Is he as good against righties? Obviously not, right? Or he would be in the lineup on a consistent basis against righties. Came in the game against a righty yesterday, had some success, got a single, right? Obviously later bounced into a double play. And the Reds had opportunities in the game. Make no mistake about it. They had some guys on base in the later innings where it's like, all right, we just need a clutch hit, something off the wall. Obviously something over the fence would be nice. And you get 3 consecutive double plays, obviously, to end the game. And that is an issue. Andujar's the guy I'd put in the lineup. I get it's Skenes, I get it's a righty, but Andujar's shown me that he's a winning baseball player and a guy that you can go to. It's just so hard coming off the bench, man. It's so hard. It's just, and Tito went to the bench. You could argue he went there a little bit too early, maybe. I don't know. It felt like he needed to do something as the offense obviously hadn't done anything besides the Elly 2-run bomb in the second inning. He went to it. It didn't work out. Stevenson, that was not a very competitive at-bat where he goes in, strikes out immediately. But it'll be interesting to see how they adjust the lineup. Matt McLain. When the Reds drafted Matt McLain, I was hyped. I was ecstatic. I thought it was going to be awesome. His rookie year, it was awesome. And you have the injuries, right? Misses all of last year. This year, it hasn't been his year. And they're going to continue to be patient with him for a little bit. He's going to have an opportunity beyond this year to figure some things out. We've seen him hit before. We know he can do it. It's not one of these situations where it's like, oh, he's never hit in the big leagues. No, we've seen him hit before. Obviously, it was when he was younger. Obviously, the word wasn't out on Matt McLain, right? Not a full scouting report out on Matt McLain like there is this day. But he just lacks confidence up there. You see it on the look on his face. Doesn't look like he thinks he can get on base. Doesn't look like he thinks he can get a hit. Now, defensively, he's helped you out. Are you in a spot, if you're Tito Francona, where you can risk putting Gavin Lux back out at second base and putting McLain on the bench? I don't know. Because Gavin Lux in the field this year has not been good. In fact, it's been an issue when Gavin Lux has been out on the field. I remember one game that I was at against Milwaukee. Big lead for the Cincinnati Reds. The lead that they blew and obviously lost the game. Gavin Lux error. Just a simple play at second base. Couldn't make it. And in a playoff type of game, do you want a guy like Gavin Lux out there at second base? It's a question that needs to be answered. We'll see. And then you look at third base. Bryan Hayes obviously has not been able to get a hit since I don't know when. It's been quite some time. He's got the back. Does he look fully healthy? Maybe not. I would still put him in the lineup. Because I believe that what he can do for you at third base, even if he's beat up, that's the reason you traded for him, right? You said, oh, he's going to have an opportunity to save us some runs. Well, if he's sitting on the bench, he's not going to have an opportunity to save you some runs. I think you can afford to still put him down there in that 9 spot at third base because he's going to continue to make great plays. Made a great play last night there as well, getting the lead runner at second base. I would continue to put Bryan Hayes in the lineup. But if you have a lineup where it's like, okay, you got Bryan in here, he's not getting a hit, and you have Matt McLain, he's not getting a hit, that's a problem. That's obviously a serious, serious issue. I would open the idea of potentially putting Gavin Lux back at second base. I know it sounds crazy, but I would open that idea because, it's just obvious from an eyeball test perspective. It doesn't seem like Matt McLain even believes there's a possibility he can get a hit when he's up there at the dish. Spencer Steer, we talked about him. He's going to be continue to have quality at-bats and help this team. Reds are going to need him. Reds are going to need him in the rest of this series, and they're certainly going to need him in Milwaukee as well. So we'll see how Tito juggles the lineup. Noelvi Marte is in a spot where, his performance to this year in the season, I think, has earned him a spot at the top of the lineup. Obviously, he has cooled down significantly, but I still think you'll see him up there. Question's tough. Do you try to ride a hot hand situation? Well, who's a hot hand? You don't really have any besides Steer, and I guess you could say Elly after last night. So we'll see. Very interested to see the lineup from Tito today. And obviously that's something people are going to continue to dissect and make opinions on and critique, right? Especially when you lose ball games. That's just the nature of being in this spot of the season. Now let's talk before we transition. I do want to talk about the pitching matchup here in this game. I get Paul Skenes has given up a lot of runs this year, or not a lot of runs, has lost his fair share of games this year. I understand that. I also understand that when the Reds faced him last time, they were able to hit him around a little bit. I believe they had 7 knocks off of him the last time they squared off. Unable to get the big hit, and obviously that was an issue for them. It's my opinion that Paul Skenes is the best pitcher in the game. Paul Skenes is unbelievable. The fastball is ridiculous. The slider is ridiculous. The physical traits are crazy. But to me, and I think this is something that Trace wasn't fully acknowledging on off the bench, is that Paul Skenes is a relentless competitor. He is a psycho competitor. There are elements to Paul Skenes that I see in Joe Burrow. That kind of just crazy psycho competitor, I'm here to eat your soul type of stuff from Paul Skenes. And this is a big moment for Paul Skenes. His record is sitting there at 68-89, talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've stunk since he's been up. Obviously, they stunk last year. They're stinking again this year. He's voiced his frustration about them stinking. Obviously, fired their manager early this year, right? This is as big a spot as it really gets. Since, obviously when he's pitching in L.A. or whatever, that feels like a big spot, obviously, for him. All-Star game, sure, feels like a big spot. But an opportunity against a division rival on the road to knock them or help knock them out of the playoffs, Paul Skenes is going to be locked in tonight. And that's a problem for the Cincinnati Reds. This is a serious problem. Hunter Greene's got to be on his A game. Now, the speech that Trace gave at the end of Off the Bench, it was awesome. It fired me up. Do I fully agree that the Reds are going to find a way to get it done? I hope so, obviously. I really, really hope so. Am I going to, right before first pitch be like, yep, we're going to win this game? Probably. But Paul Skenes is an issue. He is a serious, serious problem. And the Reds are going to see close to his best tonight. Now, another thing that we brought up, obviously, is how long is Paul Skenes going to be out there? How many pitches is he going to throw? How many innings is he going to go? Obviously, they're trying to, protect him here at this stage of the year. I'm sure there is a plan in place for Skenes. Do we know what that is at this point? No. But I can promise you one thing. Skenes wants to pitch this like it's a normal game. He wants to pitch it probably as if Pittsburgh is competing for a playoff spot. Psycho competitor, Paul Skenes. And he hasn't had a ton of opportunities playing with this organization to be in these kinds of moments. On the road, division rival, against another pitcher that some people now are saying is the second best pitcher in the National League. Paul Skenes is going to want to go in this game, and he's going to want to go for a long time, and he's going to want to go to battle with Hunter Greene, and Hunter Greene better be ready for it. All right? My gut says if Pittsburgh can get to that 4 spot again, they had 4 runs in the game last night, if they can get to that 4 spot again, I don't know if I like the Reds winning this game. 0, 1, 2, or 3, give me the Red Legs. Reds give up 4. Pittsburgh hangs 4 on them. I don't know if the Reds have enough firepower offensively to get 5 in a game like this against Skenes, regardless of how long he goes. I think Hunter Greene's going to need to be spectacular. And something we also pointed out on Off the Bench is if Hunter Greene goes out there and throws 7 innings and gives up 3 runs, people are going to say, oh, he absolutely stunk. And there's a good chance that that isn't the reality of the situation. But if they lose and he gives up 3 runs, people are going to be banging on Hunter Greene. Hunter Greene also lives for these moments. Is he as psycho of a competitor as Paul Skenes? I have my questions on whether or not that is true. But I do know, and he made it clear, that he likes being an ace, and he wants to be an ace. And when he's out there and he's healthy and he's feeling good, he's a problem. And he competes. And you saw that the last time he was out there against the Cubs. He's going to need to be special in this game. And he's got to be careful, right? Because he can't just rely on that fastball the whole time and try to blow these guys away. Yeah, that'll work for large portions of the game, but there are some guys, O'Neal Cruz, certainly one of them, that if you miss with a fastball, you're going to lose the baseball because it's going over the fence. And in a game where I don't believe Cincinnati's going to be able to score a ton of runs, I think runs are going to be, something that, it's going to be a low-scoring game. right? Hunter Greene's got to be excellent in this game for Cincinnati. This is the moment he lives for. This is the biggest. This is the biggest start of his career. Obviously, I mean, maybe you could say his debut, but other than that, this is the biggest start of his career. Cincinnati's in a spot where they need to win this game. I still believe the Cubs will figure it out. I mean, I was watching parts of that game last night. I just couldn't believe, that the Cubs lost another baseball game. I mean, they are just spiraling downward. And it was kind of a choke job, to be completely honest with you. And that's a Mets team, by the way, that, they might have some names on that roster. That's not a good team. That's not a good baseball team at all. Do I think the Reds are a great baseball team? No, I think the Reds are better than the Mets. Mets aren't good. And the Cubs, obviously, are struggling. The Reds are going to need the Cubs here at some point now, right? No longer control their own destiny. They're going to need the Cubs a little bit. And we'll see what the Marlins can do against the Mets down the line in a couple of days. But it's a big game, obviously, for Hunter Greene. And obviously, we'll have a close eye on the Mets game as well. Big win for the D-backs last night. Reds have tiebreakers over both those teams. If you find a way to, obviously we talked about 4-2 over the next 6, including last night. So can you go 4-1 over the next 5? I don't know. Will 3-2 over the next 5 be enough to get you in? With the tiebreakers, you feel decent. But we'll see. Ultimately, it's a massive game for Hunter Greene, and he needs to respond, and he needs to answer the bell for the Cincinnati Reds in this game.